Hi, I'm Jessica from SFA Stewardship Finance Academy, and in this video we are going to discuss about renewable energy. So I'm sure that you have heard of the term renewable energy or green investing, which is a space that has attracted spotlight in recent years due to several reasons. Now, renewable energy just refers to energy from a source that is not depleted when used. Examples are wind or solar power. Now, what is driving the growing need for renewable energy? First is definitely climate change issues on a global scale. Now, scientists have been sounding the alarms about rising temperature levels caused by carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases, and these have contributed to natural disasters across the world, resulting in people losing their lives and livelihoods due to more deadly and more frequent heat waves, floods, wildfires, and droughts triggered by the climate crisis, which we are seeing in the current period as well. Now, droughts can also lead to food shortage due to low crops production, which can lead to famines, especially in poorer countries. Droughts can also affect shipping and disrupt supply chain by slowing down the transportation of goods. Thus, climate change and environmental, social, and governance (ESG) considerations have become a cause of concern for the public, including governments and corporates worldwide. Now, if we look at the energy crisis in Europe, which is caused by the Russia-Ukraine war, it will likely accelerate the transition to greener fuels in the medium term. Not only can the higher use of renewables help to improve the environment by reducing pollution, it also helps to reduce energy costs and ensure energy independence, whereby the risks to the stability of energy supplies, as highlighted by Russia's invasion of Ukraine, would support the global shift away from polluting fossil fuels. Now, you may ask what is the best form of green energy, but there is no single answer to this question, since the output from renewable energy depends heavily on geographical factors like the weather. So both solar and wind power have seen drastic improvements in electrical output, and in many allocations they are now cheaper than fossil fuels. Then you have hydroelectric, geothermal, and nuclear power, which are more reliable for large-scale production, but they each have different environmental drawbacks. Now, given how important green energy is in fighting climate change, governments across the world have implemented several initiatives to move towards decarbonization, with the shift towards clean energy and a reduced dependency on fossil fuels. So there is this Paris Agreement, which calls for countries to unite towards the net zero goal by the year 2050. Now, net zero, this term means cutting of greenhouse gas emissions to as close to zero as possible, with any remaining emissions reabsorbed from the atmosphere by, for example, oceans and forests. So the science shows clearly that in order to avert the worst impacts of climate change and preserve a livable planet, global temperature increase needs to be limited to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. Now, currently, the Earth is already about 1.1 degrees Celsius warmer than it was in the late 1800s, and emissions are still continuing to rise globally. So to keep global warming to no more than 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, the emissions need to be reduced by 45% by 2030 and reach net zero by 2050. So this is under the Paris Agreement, which more than 70 countries have agreed to join in together to reduce emissions and hit the net zero target. Now, recently in the US, the President Joe Biden signed into law the Inflation Reduction Act on August 16, 2022, with the vision to completely decarbonize the US economy by supporting higher activity in the renewable energy sector via the expansion of tax credits for wind, solar, nuclear, clean hydrogen, clean fuels, energy-efficient commercial buildings, new efficient homes, and energy-efficient electric vehicles. So this act was designed to incentivize a shift in the American industrial, manufacturing, and technology sectors to a renewable energy focus. And a large sum of $369 billion of investment is to be directed towards renewable energy and reducing the US current astronomical amount of emissions. If we look at Europe, which is already a global frontrunner in scaling up renewable energy to replace fossil fuels, the annual build-out rates are still insufficient to overcome Europe's dependence on fossil fuels. Although if we look at the UK, renewables are already much cheaper than fossil fuels. Like renewables are 9 times cheaper than gas, and on a global scale, solar and wind actually has the potential to meet our planet's energy demand 100 times over. But what is needed is stronger political will to adopt the renewable energy infrastructure at speed and scale.
So are you saying that we already have enough plant to generate enough energy for the countries to use?
I think the technology and infrastructure, all the systems are there, but much more has to be done by the government side to push more capital spending towards these areas to actually build out the plants and actually gear towards the use of this renewable energy. At the current, not much is being done fast enough yet. But let us look at the investment landscape for renewable energy. This actually provides a market opportunity for investors to looking to profit from green energy investments given the current landscape that we are seeing now. So private companies have actually been investing at record levels to scale up the delivery of clean energy projects. For example, you have Iberdrola, which is a world leader in renewable energy and power networks with 40,000 megawatts in operations. It aims to still more than double its renewable energy capacity in just a decade. And if we look at the investor side, their point of view, there is also increasing interest from institutional investors to provide green financing. So if we look at this chart, we can see the trend for the investment in renewable energy globally, APAC, EMEA, and Americas. So if we look at the first half of 2022 alone, it's actually an all-time record for venture capital and private equity investments into renewables and energy storage, which is a large increase compared to the previous year.
Yeah, this is interesting that APAC is taking the lead. Would it be China spearheading most of the renewable energy projects?
Yes, actually China has been investing the most into renewable energy globally. So it has posted huge investment growth in both wind and solar project finance. And in contrast, US is the second largest solar market, followed by Japan. So if you look at this chart, you can see that in terms of solar power generation capacity, China is actually far ahead compared to other players, including the second and third, which are US and Japan, respectively. And across the past few years, the dominating country in the development of solar has been China, which has become not just a major installer of solar for electricity generation, but also the industrial leader in producing solar cells and solar panels. So this used to be a position held by Japan and also many other Western countries. But for a few years, China has been taking over this industry. And I think that we can predict that going forward, the United States and Europe will, in the coming years, make more efforts to come back as major suppliers.
How about the wind power?
In wind power too, China has become the world leader. So there was a remarkable development in China from the year 2005 to 2010, when China went from having virtually no wind power installed to having more than any other country in the world. Over the last 20 years or 15 years at least, China has installed in the order of 2 wind power plants per hour, day and night, all around the year. So this is an area where the US, Germany, India, and Spain are now the top countries. So if you look at this chart, then you can see the wind power generating capacity of the different countries. So China is still at the very top, but USA is also catching up, and so is Germany. They have been on an uptrend as well in terms of building out the infrastructure to generate wind power. The investment growth trend follows China's strategy to build new renewable generation capacity so that it can replace its existing coal fleet and China is well on track to hit its 1.2 trillion watts wind and solar capacity target by 2030. So moving forward, I think we can still expect China to continue building out its infrastructure for renewable energy, and also US and Europe are also working on their side to promote these green initiatives as well.
Yeah. This is good to know. So where can we invest if we want to gain exposure to green investments and ride the renewable energy trend?
So for example, you can maybe pick individual stocks. So it can be like stocks in electric vehicles, like a lot of people, they bought Tesla or Rivian because EV play, electric vehicles, is also part of green investing, since all these electric vehicles also, they do not really emit any emissions. So that is an option you can look at as well. But if you want to look at a more comprehensive one, then you can look at green ETFs. So this would be ETFs, exchange traded funds, that invest in companies related to renewable energy. So for example, you can look at iShares Global Clean Energy ETF. This offers you exposure to stocks from around the world and from multiple clean energy industries, including biofuels, ethanol, geothermal, hydroelectric, solar, wind, and also electric utilities and electrical equipment. So it is quite comprehensive. And also, if you want to, you can also look at the First Trust Nasdaq Clean Edge Green Energy Index Fund. So this one is focused on US companies alone that are involved in clean energy. So this one is if you only want to get exposure to US green energy stocks. And if you want more focused exposure, say you want to invest in solar companies alone, there are ETFs just catered to solar alone as well. Like for example, the Invesco Solar ETF. So this one, it invests in companies that are related to solar technology development and materials production. So this is purely solar. Then if you want to have investment exposure to wind alone, there's also the First Trust Global Wind Energy ETF. So this is purely holding investments in global companies involved in the wind energy generation. And if you want to look at individual stocks, you can as well. So in the US, we would have NextEra Energy, then also Enphase Energy, Sunrun, and also in Canada, you have Brookfield Renewable, which is also a very large renewable energy producer involved in hydroelectric, solar, wind, and energy. And if you look at companies like Chevron, it still is a leading global energy company with an integrated oil and gas business, but it has also been investing into green technology in order to reduce its carbon emissions. In addition, it also acquired Renewable Energy Group, this company, in 2022 for $3.15 billion. So we're clearly seeing that it is shifting towards renewable energy as well, although it is heavily dependent on its legacy oil and gas operations. Now, this deal that it recently was involved in will accelerate Chevron's ability to achieve its goal of expanding its renewable fuels production capacity to 100,000 barrels per day by 2030. So we can see that even all these oil and gas giants, they have been focusing on driving their growth towards renewable energy as well. So I think that moving forward, this is really something that investors can look into for the long term. If you're looking for a long-term trend to invest in, then green investing, I'm sure it will continue to be something that investors can pay attention to, especially moving towards the 2050 net zero goal. So I hope that through this video, you have gained some insights on what is renewable energy and why countries are really focusing on driving growth towards renewable energy, and what are the drivers that are actually supporting the growth of this industry moving forward. So you can check out ETFs as well as many individual stocks that are investing in renewable energy, and you can follow the trend of global institutional investors worldwide. There have also been a lot of green funds that are popping out, whether in stocks or even in the bond market as well. You have the green bond market or green sukuk as well. So I see this space will get only bigger and bigger as we move towards the medium and the long term as well. So definitely something to pay attention to. So that's the end of the video for this topic. We hope you have enjoyed and learned something out of it. Do click on the like button and also subscribe to our YouTube channel to learn more, to get some more informative tips, and also follow us for more market updates. See you!